Welcome to the Two Opinionated Brothers podcast with Smart Jarvis and Big Sam. This podcast, opinions, and views are simply those of the two opinionated brothers. So don't trip.
Big Sam, how you doing today?
Man, I'm feeling great. Jarvis, how you feeling today, man?
I'm all right. A little disappointed I let you beat me in here today, man.
It happens.
What happened? What was going on? You must have, you been sitting around doing nothing all day?
Not important, man. I'm glad you showed up. I'd hate to have to do this podcast by myself. You know,
It's two opinionated brothers, not one, dog.
That's all right. Well, the folks would have been in for a treat tonight, Jarvis, had you not shown up.
What we talking about today, man?
I guarantee
Abortion?
you,
You want to talk about abortion
Do
today?
you really want to talk about abortion,
well, I mean,
Jarvis?
you've been talking about it for the last week on Facebook, so
how
I figured we talk about it.
Well, how fitting that the one female member of our podcast sitting here today, and today is the day we discuss abortion, and that's how it happens.
Well, she was busy. I
She
don't know
was
what to
busy.
tell you, man. What do you think about it, man?
Think about what?
Abortion. Abortion laws passed in Alabama. Other states are passing it.
Are you asking me a moral question?
I'm
Or
asking in
are
your
you asking
opinion
me
in
what
general, man. Whatever you want to talk about.
That's a loaded question.
Because you always
Jarvis.
get upset because you say you don't get to talk enough. We don't get to go into your topic. So since you've been talking about this on Facebook for the last week, I figured it was something
Have I?
that you were interested in and that maybe you wanted to discuss. So can you go ahead and discuss it instead of being ornery?
Well, okay. Well, I appreciate you recognizing that. You know, some folks would just call me being a jerk or an asshole, but you
Hey,
said
man,
honorary.
no need to use profanity,
No
man.
profanity.
My mom listens to this podcast.
How you doing?
Sorry, Mom.
How you doing, Mother Noel? Yeah. Well, Jarvis, I tell you this, man. I really don't. I really don't have an opinion one way or the other
What?
on. I don't.
Two opinionated brothers.
Yeah,
That
I
means
don't.
you need to have an opinion.
Well, I don't. Let me tell you this. I don't have an opinion on abortion as a moral issue because I believe, in the words of a great Masonic mind, every man got to walk his own path. Oh, I'm sorry, every woman, man, has to walk their own path, right? So I really don't. I really don't have an opinion. You know, I can't tell you morally what to do. That's between you and your guidepost. You know what a guidepost is?
Please continue.
You know how the old farmers used to plow fields and they put the guideposts to make sure they plowed
What do you
in a
know
straight
about a
line.
farm?
I read a lot.
Okay.
Yeah, I read a lot.
Because one of us from the country and you're from the big city, so I don't think you know
Big
anything about a
city.
farm.
I'll take that.
Okay,
but
go
what I am disappointed, about, I think, is a lot of the misdirection that has come from this abortion arguments. For instance, I don't really grasp how this is a woman's rights issue. I don't think how it's by the state, which last fall we had an election, right? And the state of Alabama overwhelmingly supported a pro-life stance as a state, which let us know that any legislation from that point forward would be pro-life. And I read somewhere where they said, well, what's going to happen next? Women aren't going to be able to drive. So I'm like, well, how does one relate to the other?
Yeah, that's a stretch.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's several issues I have with it. First off, from a standpoint of, I think that anybody that supports, promotes, or passes legislation that says abortions will be banned even in the case of rape and incest, that's just a disgusting individual. I mean, regardless of what your position is on abortion, for you to suggest that if a young lady is raped or a young lady is molested and impregnated by a family member, uncle, dad, brother, what have you, we don't care. We're still going to force you to go 9 months carrying that baby, bring it to term, and then make whatever decision from that. So you're already dealing with the trauma of having been raped, molested, what have you. Then we're going to make you suffer, for 9 months. Then we're going to make you have the baby, and then we're going to make you suffer again by then being faced with a choice of, what do I do now? Do I give this baby up for adoption? Do I keep this baby and look at the face and kind of see and relive the trauma on a regular basis? So that's just ridiculous. So we'll put that out the way.
Have you ever read President Trump's book, The Art of the Deal?
No, I haven't.
You haven't?
I read adult books.
Have you ever gone through a negotiation before?
Several. I'm actually an expert negotiator. Yeah.
So you understand that this is political.
I understand that.
In that you take the bar so far right so that when it's ultimately adjudicated in court, it comes to the middle and you come to common ground.
That's their hope.
That's their hope. Yeah.
Having said that, knowing that, I'll still say any individual that supports, promotes, or passes legislation that says rape, abortion is banned even in the case of rape or incest, is a disgusting individual. Okay, so I'm gonna set that aside.
Sexual. Okay, so let me ask you this: so what's the difference between rape and incest?
Well, it's still there's the only difference is that incest means a family member. We're assuming that you were raped as well in the when we're talking incest, but it's just that it was a family member. So that's the only. I mean, the difference is in the wording and who performed the act. It's still a rape, absolutely. Yeah. So that's the man.
So why don't we say children receive?
No, we'll say what,
as a result of sexual assault.
We'll say what we're saying.
Well,
rape and incest. There's no need to change it.
Well, rape and incest. I mean, but why does it have to be different?
What I'm saying is, debating that point is ridiculous.
Well, it's not ridiculous, and I'll tell you why.
Why is it not ridiculous?
I think it's ridiculous because what we're saying when we say rape, incest, I think what we're saying is a baby that has resulted as a result of some type of sexual assault.
Sexual assault?
Meaning that the mother did not choose to actively participate in that process.
Yeah. Right? Rape and incest, Sam. It's no point in taking the time to debate that. So back to what I was saying.
We'll hear this out. So is incest illegal in all states?
I'm sure this is the United States of America. I'm sure there's at least one or two states that are shaky on either defining what incest is or whether it's the age of consent. There's a whole lot of that going on. I don't.
You don't understand what my point is. I got you.
Well, you're not making a good point because that's not the point of what we're discussing right now. We're not going into.
We're having a deeper conversation.
No, we're not. We're discussing.
We're
discussing abortion right now. We'll have a deeper conversation later. We're discussing abortion right now and whether or not it should be legal.
No, we're actually discussing woman's choice. How is this a woman's right? How is it a woman's right? I'm a father. I'm not a father, but say I conceived. Me and young lady A conceived a child, right? I want nothing to do with the baby. We have a discussion. We say, hey, oh wow, you missed your cycle. Okay, well, here we go. It's 3-4 weeks. We're coming up on that 6-week deadline, right? We make a decision. She says, keep the baby. I say, no, keep the baby. She keeps the baby. Am I still responsible for child support?
You are. Yeah, and that's a drill down into the issue, and we can get to that. Yeah. Right now, we're talking from a top level. We're talking about.
But you can't talk from the top level.
You can. Yeah, you can. We can.
You're talking rape and incest, right?
I'm talking abortion in general.
No, you're not. You're talking rape and incest.
No, I'm talking abortion in general. Okay. I started by saying anyone that doesn't even want to consider making those exceptions, I think. Is off in the head slightly.
Well, we moved that to the left because we said that no sensible law.
At some point, I'm going to try to get to a point. But I guess you want to keep trying to interrupt me.
Let's just move that to the left because we agreed that this is a negotiation, and no sensible law would say a child conceived as a result of sexual assault. Right.
Well, that's what the law says in Alabama.
It's negotiation. It's not a law.
That's what the law says in Alabama. Now we're assuming that they're going to the extreme in hopes of negotiating closer to the center, but we don't know.
Well, they'd absolutely have to.
No one has said that publicly. No one has said, "Hey guys, we really think that you should be able to have an abortion in the case of rape and incest, but we've got to go to the extreme because we want a negotiating chip later." No one said that. We're assuming that, but no one said that. So that's why I'm saying I'm dealing with the right now. Okay, with the evidence we have right now. I'm not dealing with assumptions. I'm dealing with what we have right now. What we have right now is a law that says abortion is banned even in the case of rape and incest. So that part is discussed.
Which is not legal law.
Yeah, that part is.
Which is not enforceable law.
Technically.
What do you mean
because you're talking to Roe v. Wade, but it doesn't matter. It's on the books.
Can a woman that has not been raped, that has not been molested through incest, get an abortion in the great state of Alabama today, May 22nd, 2019?
As of right now, yes.
Okay.
Yes, they can.
What would have to happen in order for that to change?
Well, it's going to have to go up to the Supreme Court, and then they're going to have to overturn Roe v.
Federal law.
Wade, blah, 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 and then they'll put it in the hands of the
A lot
state.
of folks don't understand that process. Some folks think that you can't get an abortion today.
Well, some people don't pay attention to the news, and they don't really know what's going on.
Another reason
or they
I'm
just
disgusted
use
about this whole
social media.
process. But go ahead.
But it does. It's the symbolism of the state. So back to the abortion issue. At some point, I'm going to get to talk about abortion without you interrupting me. I'm assuming.
I'm waiting.
Thank you, sir. So I think that, I asked you what your opinion was on whether or not abortion should be legal or illegal. I guess you were scared to tell me were you scared to tell me?
No, I told you I don't have a preference. You know,
You don't have a preference?
I don't have a preference, and I tell you why. Because I believe that being a man, freeborn of lawful age, and an American citizen and patriot, right? I believe that each individual should have the opportunity to make the best decisions for him or herself.
So then you mean you're saying essentially that abortion should be legal. If you're saying everyone has the individual choice, some will choose to have one, some will choose not to. But in order for the ones that choose to have one, in order for them to be able to do that, the law would have to stipulate that it is a legal procedure. So then you're saying that you believe that abortion should be legal, right?
No, I'm not.
Are you scared to say that?
No. I'm not. Believe me, I'm not scared to say legal or illegal. We live in a democratic society.
You're straddling the fence.
No,
dude.
I'm not straddling the fence.
Do you think abortion should be legal for anyone that chooses to have it? Yes or no?
Morally?
I ain't talking about no morally,
it's
man.
a moral issue.
Nobody cares about
and
your
it's
morals,
a legislative issue.
Nobody cares about your
and
individual
I don't care
morals.
about anybody else's moral. For me, it's a moral issue. Whether it's legal or illegal, right? It doesn't affect me. It's a moral issue.
We're not talking about what
Right.
affects you. You're a guy. Okay? What I'm asking
And if
you,
I was a father
what I'm
with
asking you,
daughters,
Sam,
and if I was a
do you
father
think-
with daughters,
do you think that United States citizens, if they choose to have an abortion, do you think legally they should be able to do that without interference from the state or the federal government? Yes or no? That's all I'm asking you. If an individual chooses to have an abortion in the United States, do you think that the state and federal government should stay out of their business and allow them to have one if they wanted to have one? Yes or no? That's all I'm asking.
yeah, I do.
Thank you.
And I also
what was so hard
but I
about that?
also believe that you should be allowed to do heroin. You should be
I agree.
allowed to smoke meth.
I agree.
You should be allowed to jump off a bridge if you so choose. You know, as long as you don't
Well,
harm.
I don't think that
as
they-
long as you don't harm me, or as long as you don't harm others around you, who cares what you do?
I agree.
Right?
I agree
Who
that
cares what you do?
drugs should not be illegal.
Yeah, you know.
I agree.
But now that being said, I don't think that the federal government should be subsidizing, you know, someone's heroin addiction. You know, the federal government shouldn't be subsidizing someone's ability to smoke meth. I don't think the federal government should be subsidizing somebody's decision to have an abortion unless it is a medical condition. Then it'd be covered under your health insurance. But just because I don't like the guy that I chose to sleep with, right? Yeah. So I want to end my pregnancy, shouldn't mean that, okay. But likewise, though, but back to my original question.
I don't know that the federal government is subsidizing that, that right now.
It was called Planned Parenthood.
Well, I that's a small percentage of the services they provide. So I don't know that we're saying.
Okay, we'll take that small percentage out.
So you don't think
I don't care how much of a percentage it is.
So you think that if someone wants an abortion, they should have to pay for it on their own dime. So insurance shouldn't cover it.
If I want a new set of teeth,
insurance shouldn't cover it.
If I want cosmetic,
so you're saying the insurance shouldn't cover it?
No, that's between you and your insurer.
Okay.
You know, if
you're just saying a government agency shouldn't be involved.
Yeah, if you pay a premium, that allows you limitless abortions. You know, just like it may allow you limitless whatever. Then that's between you and your insurer. You know, I just don't understand the part of this whole discussion that bothers me is that it's become a woman's rights issue. Like, you know, once you conceive a child, you know, there's more people in play than just the mother. The father is in play. What if the father says, "I don't want you to abort my child"?
Yeah, that's a very tricky. I've had this conversation with a couple of females, and they've all, and I'm sure there's bias involved because they're female. They've all said, ultimately it should be her choice because
Why?
she's the one that have to carry the baby.
So
I agree with you. I think there's a serious discussion to be had about that, to suggest that you willingly laid down and had sex, presumably
would you agree that there are no
unprotected
accidental
sex.
babies? Well, I heard somebody say. I read somewhere.
I think it's rare that it's
I read
accidental,
somewhere. A woman said, a young lady
I
said,
would categorize it as irresponsible pregnancy.
This young lady said, I was on birth control. He had a condom, and I still got pregnant.
Yeah, I'm sure
Right.
there's some rare cases of that.
It's possible,
But it would be extremely rare.
but I wouldn't even call that an accidental baby.
Yeah,
It's not an accident.
It's extremely rare because it's accidental in that the birth control that she's taking and the condom that he's using.
Well, both of them have disclaimers that say
None of them are 100%.
100%.
Yeah, none of them are 100%.
So every time you do that, you understand that there is a percentage, even if it is a small percentage, that you might get.
Yeah,
pregnant.
I agree.
So it's a decision that you make.
Yeah, no question about. I would call them irresponsible pregnancies. Because most of the time, the overwhelming majority of pregnancy, there's a small percentage that somebody could tell you they were on birth control and he used a condom. There's a small percentage, unfortunately, that is a result of rape or incest. But the overwhelming majority, I'm sure in the 80 or 90 percentile, is two individuals had sex unprotected and they got pregnant. They weren't in a relationship, or they were in a relationship and they didn't want to get pregnant, and so then they go have an abortion. I'm sure that's the overwhelming majority.
Isn't the woman's choice and the man's choice more effective if it is decided before the act of conception? What if before?
Well, I mean, that sounds good.
But it is good. It is good. It is good. It is good. It's very good.
But they weren't even though they were being irresponsible, right, and perhaps having unprotected sex, they still weren't planning on her getting pregnant. So whatever discussion, and then it's one thing to say, people say stuff in the heat of the moment, and you think you love someone, you're telling each other you love each other during sex, or you're talking about, you want to have the baby, whatever the case may be, and then a few weeks later, when it's potentially a reality, then you kind of come to your senses and you say, wait a minute, I can barely take care of myself, let alone take care of a child. That's another aspect of it
so
too.
Now
Another aspect of it is, okay, let's say we force a young lady who can barely take care of herself. Guy's not in the picture. Let's say we force her to have the baby. She can't afford to take care of the baby. Now that the burden of taking care or helping to take care of that child is on you and I as taxpayers. So there's multiple angles to look at.
We're assuming that there's no family in place. We're assuming that there's no community in place.
There's a lot of assumptions. Yeah, but a lot of assumptions. But you and I don't know individuals personally that have multiple kids that are getting assistance, public assistance, which means you and I tax dollars are going to help take care of their kids.
Well, Jarvis,
we don't know individuals like
everyone receiving public assistance is not receiving public assistance because they can't take care of their kids. I think it's a difference in needing a little help and being criminally negligent as a parent. If you continue to conceive children as a mother, knowing that you don't have the resources to provide for these children,
that's what we're talking about.
That should be a criminal charge.
That's what we're talking about.
Just like, but okay,
that's what we're talking about.
And so we're
talking about someone that has multiple kids. You have one kid, you're on public assistance. You go out and have another one, right? And another one. That's what we're talking about. They should be
criminally charged. Endangerment of a child.
So you criminally charge them, but here's what I'm saying. You criminally charge the mother, right? And you lock her up or whatever.
And the father as well, if it's a repeat offender.
Okay. And then what happens with the kids?
Excuse me?
What happens with the kids now?
Again,
the burden of taking care of those kids is still on the American taxpayer.
So let me ask you this.
So there's an argument too.
But you can't just. But you just can't kill off every, undesirable citizen that you choose, that you don't see fit. You just can't. You just can't kill off folks because they can't fend for themselves.
No one's
But that's what we're doing. But then that goes to the argument of when does life begin? When does life begin? You know, as long as you're inside of another human being, you don't have life. There's cases now where drunk driver has killed a mother who was expecting, right? And that drunk driver was charged with a double homicide.
Yeah.
So what's the difference?
Yeah.
Because because the mother chooses to end the life of the baby, it's not homicide.
Yeah.
But if a drunk driver hits you and kills you and the baby, it's a double homicide.
I'm not disputing that. I think that there's too much in this country of cut and dry on very complicated issues. So people that are pro-abortion say it acts as if it's just a simple choice. You should be able to have an abortion, period. If a woman wants to have 50 abortions, she should be able to have it, right? And I'm like, it's not that cut and dry. People that are anti-abortion feel the same way. Hey, and the majority of those are from a religious standpoint, and they just think, no, you have an abortion, that's murder, and they think it's not just that simple. There's a lot of complexities that go into making a choice. I don't know. Here's what I know.
What's murder when you take a life?
Well, because a lot of people don't know everything, Sam. Here's
so you
don't
thing. Know what murder is?
Well, I know what murder is. I don't. When your question,
you don't know at what point life begins.
Your question. That's the question.
Okay.
At what point do we define when life begins? Is it at once the sperm touches the egg?
You're married. You're married, right? You and your wife have been trying for 2 years to conceive. You conceive, right? 8 months. No, 8 months. Lord have mercy.
That'd be too long, Sam.
8 weeks.
Yeah.
2 months into the pregnancy, she miscarries. Is there no grief?
Oh, it's a lot of grief.
Why?
Absolutely.
Why?
Absolutely.
At 2 months, most people think that you should still be able to abort the baby without consequences.
That's why this issue is very complicated, Sam. These questions that you're asking.
For who?
It's very complicated.
For who?
There's a dilemma there.
Oh, okay.
There's a dilemma. On the one hand, I say, in
my case, women should have the right to choose. That's what we're saying.
Well,
that's what we're saying. Women, I read
lean
somewhere,
towards
power. I read somewhere and it said, "Power to the vajayjay" or something. Something
they had a
like
march
that.
downtown the other day.
Women should have the right to choose.
It was some provocative language on some of those signs.
Yeah, women should have the right to choose. At the end of the day, the main issue that we're hearing is it's a woman's rights choice.
Right.
I mean, it's a woman's choice, or however I'm trying to say it.
Right to choose.
Right to choose. So none of these other issues are important.
Yeah.
As long as I, as a lady, have a right to choose.
Yeah.
That right supersedes all other factors in play.
Yeah.
Anybody that takes any time to look and think about it any other type of way,
I agree,
is attacking women.
Agree.
I'm sure I'll probably get a lot of hate about
again,
just from my opinion.
That's the whole point I was making when I say we oversimplify issues. We do it all the time. It's the same thing I feel like with the Me Too movement or any movement. We oversimplify things because we get in a corner and we decide this is our position, and then at that point we don't even want to listen to what anyone else's point of view. Right? So I agree with you. If a man and a woman get together and have consensual sex, she gets pregnant, to say that 100% of the choice on whether or not to have the baby is hers and hers alone because she has to carry the baby, I think that's unfair to the guy. I absolutely think that. Right? No question about it. Because just like if he says, I don't want to have the baby, she says, I do, she brings has the baby, she can then go back and say, I want you to pay child support, right? Even though he said he didn't want to have the baby. So to suggest that these issues are just very simple, right? I agree. And from a woman's right perspective, I see both sides of it. I see what they're saying. They don't want, now I don't agree that I hear a lot of men shouldn't be making decisions about women's body. Now I agree that I hope what they're saying is there should be diversity in all decision making. So you shouldn't have all men on any panel, any company, in lawmaking positions making decisions. There should be diversity. So there should be women and men legislators. Elected
officials.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So there should be diversity in your elected officials. So whose
responsibility is it to make sure that the electorate is diverse?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. Well, there's a lot of other sub-factors that goes into who gets elected. But in general, I get your point. But that's what I'm saying. I don't think that we should only allow women legislators to make decisions on things that affect women. We don't say that only black legislators can discuss and decide on issues that affect predominantly black communities. It's whoever the elected official or officials are, they are put in place and they make those decisions. But there needs to be diversity. And so when you're talking about the United States of America, we still, even though it's getting more diverse, we still lack diversity in a lot of areas. And so it's still a white male-dominated society. And so when they look at laws that are being passed and the majority of them are white male, then you're going to have some issues with the women electorate or the minority electorate. But my point is that I think it's a complicated issue. I think you bring up some good points, but I think it's a complicated issue, Sam.
Before we talk cartoons, man, I want to just say, I just want to say this
around watching cartoons.
From my personal belief and opinion. At 38 years old, I asked myself the question: if I was in that situation, Sam, what would you be? And I think that over the years, my opinion has, there was probably at one time in my life where, no doubt, we're going to the abortion clinic. I'm in school. I ain't got nothing. I don't even want my parents to know that I'm doing this and doing that. You see what I'm saying? But at this stage in my life, I think that I try to make better decisions about who I would even put myself in that situation with, where
stuff happens, man. Stuff happens.
All kinds of stuff happens. But what I'm saying is I try to put myself in a situation to where, like you say, contraception is not 100%.
Nothing's 100%. I think the main issue that people have with the anti-abortionists is that basically it's a religious point of view, and so my opinion is that whenever there's a law or a piece of legislation that you're looking to pass and it's based off your religious beliefs, it's probably a bad idea, because it's a country and not a church. And so you can't oppose your religious beliefs on everyone in the United States. So what I say to my friends that are Christians that say, we shouldn't be able to do this because of their religious beliefs, I say, well, what if you lived in a majority Muslim country, right? And you were forced to live by the laws of Islam?
I probably wouldn't live there.
Well, it's easy for you to say that, but everyone doesn't have the means to move.
So that's what
what you're saying is that you're basically
everybody has the means to move to an Islamic country.
What I'm saying is you're basically saying someone lives in America, if they don't want to be subject to Christian points of views, then they could move. Well, it's not that easy.
Oh, so you're saying everybody didn't have the means to move away from America? Yeah,
they wouldn't have those means.
America is not a Christian country.
It's the dominant religion.
Yeah, but probably the majority of people that are in power in America don't govern on Christian beliefs.
I don't know about that, Sam.
I know about that. Well, what do you mean?
I don't know about
that.
Give
me one example.
I think we're still a Christian.
Give me one example.
A majority Christian country.
Give me one example.
Well, I think that the majority of the individuals that are anti-abortion are anti-abortion because of their religious beliefs.
That you shouldn't murder?
Well, whether they say it's murder or you just should, whatever. Most of them link it to murder. Well, see, they say it's the killing of a person.
I started my discussion in saying that I'm not discussing morality. What you choose to do and how you choose to live your life morally is based on what your expectation is at the end of it. If you have no expectation for the end of life, then you'll live life a certain way, right? For those of us who have an expectation at the end of life, meaning that, we live life a certain way. So I can't, some people don't even believe in.
You plan on going to hell?
Do I plan on going to hell?
Yes.
I plan on trying to avoid it. But like you said, stuff happens.
So far, not so good, my friend.
Well, I don't know.
I just let you. I mean, I
just
want to throw that out.
But I want to say this, man.
Go ahead.
It's glad that I love it when you and 45 agree.
What did he say?
President Trump. He said, he does not believe that. He said, I'm strongly pro-life, except for in cases of rape and incest.
Yeah, and probably the numerous times that he's probably paid, had Michael Cohen pay to have some that we don't know about. But anyway, that's speculation, so legal. I don't know about
it. Wouldn't be illegal.
Before I go, because I got some partying to do. It was some you put something on the Facebook about some cartoons, and I guess you tried to attack me. I did put it. Did I put it on there?
You did, man.
Okay, and you tried to attack me. What was that about?
I didn't try to attack you, man. I'm trying to keep you straight.
What are you trying to keep me straight about?
We're a unit, man. and we can't be out here saying crazy stuff.
What did I say crazy?
Well,
I asked.
It sounds like to me you said
what I said was Alabama Public Television refused to air a cartoon where there was a gay marriage on the cartoon. Correct? And what I said was I asked a question. I said, should cartoons delve into heterosexual or homosexual relationships? And then I asked the second question, should networks be censoring cartoons? That's what I said. And then I made a statement. Cartoons. And then I made a statement that said, me personally, I think cartoons, I can't remember specifically what I said.
Should stay away from.
But I think that in general, cartoons should be careful about getting into certain type of topics because it's for a kid, right? And I think that most parents want to be the ones, at least the first ones, to introduce their kids to certain topics. So I wouldn't want the first time that my child was introduced to heterosexual or homosexual behavior, activities, whatever, to be on a cartoon. I want the cartoons to stick to teaching ABCs, 1, 2, 3s, going to school, having fun, having healthy friendships, male to male, female to female, male to female, whatever they are, and not to be getting into,
relationships,
mothers
and fathers.
When I mean relationships, I mean sexual relationships.
Oh, the two characters were going to have sex?
No, they weren't. But we can assume that if someone gets married,
yeah,
they have feelings for each other. Sure. So there's an attraction to them.
I gave you a long list of...
Well, you didn't give me a long list.
Well, there was at least 5
you're
to
right.
6.
I didn't read your comment.
At least 5 to 6.
I saw you wrote it.
We
and
named
I was
the
like,
Flintstones, which you had Fred and Wilma.
Yeah.
Which is a heterosexual relationship.
Yeah.
You got Marge and Homer, which is a heterosexual relationship.
I think. Well, first off, The Simpsons is for adults.
Is it?
Yeah, it's a cartoon. It's
a
cartoon, but it's for adults.
When I was a kid,
the content on there is for adults.
Well, maybe it had.
That's one of the. That's actually one of the problems.
When I was a kid, it was for kids.
I think that
I had Bart Simpson night clothes.
Yeah, no. What I'm saying, here's what I'm saying.
Yeah, they sold Bart Simpson candy.
One of the problems I think, as I've gotten, I don't watch cartoons. Obviously, I didn't watch.
Well,
cartoons.
let's throw the Simpsons.
No.
Dennis the Menace. Is that also for adults?
Listen to what I'm saying. Mm-hmm. One of the problems is that cartoons obviously are created by adults, and as a child, when you watch them, there's a lot of messaging and imagery that you may not necessarily catch on to. But if you look back at some of the cartoons, you realize that they were catered towards adults, okay? And so that's probably one of the problems. It's not I don't know, Barney or something, those type of shows where they're just all educational. When you look at a lot of those cartoons that we watch, they had little hidden messages. They had sexual type behavior and influences in there that maybe as a child you didn't catch, maybe you would. My point is that I don't know that cartoons need to be focusing on.
It's not
gay
focusing
marriages, heterosexual marriages.
It's not focusing on. It's a part of life.
If it's a part of the show, then there's a focus on it, at least for that show.
As a part of life, you as a Democrat, right, are in support of gay marriage.
Well, again,
right? Do you support gay marriage?
Again, what I said before.
Yes or no?
No. Sometimes,
ladies and gentlemen,
you're not going to put me in a corner to
marriage?
yes or no because I like to talk. So I said before.
At the end of your talk, are you going to tell us how you stand? Yeah, I'm going to answer.
Okay. But I said before that anytime you oppose something or want to pass laws to oppose or support something based off your religious belief, I think is a bad idea. So people that oppose gay marriage did so because of religious beliefs. I think that's a bad idea because you're trying to impose your religious beliefs on everyone. Okay, so gays should be able to get married just like heterosexuals should be able to get married. If you don't like it, or now if your church, if a gay couple goes into a church and says we want to get married here, and they say we don't do that there, I think that church also should have that right, and they shouldn't be forced to have to marry a gay couple. You need to go find a church that will do that for you, or go to the courthouse. So everybody has their rights. It's against our religion. We think that homosexuality is against our religion, so we're not going to marry you here. But as far as the country is concerned, right, homosexuals should be able to get married.
Is homosexuality against your religion?
Well, I'm not a religious expert.
Okay.
Now, growing up Christian, I would say it is against Christianity, right? Now, and I I really hate to get into this topic because I'm not an expert on it.
That's fine. Well,
but
then let's go back to
I think there's
Arthur.
no denying that the Bible speaks negatively on homosexuality. I think we can agree on that. Now, whether or not, because people use all different types of interpretations
it doesn't
of the
speak
Bible.
negatively on it.
It says it's a sin.
Not only does it say it's a sin, it says it's an abomination.
Which there's more than one abomination. But
pork and a couple.
There's some other things. You eat pork all the time. So what I'm saying,
I eat pork all the time.
Well, a little birdie told me you eat pork all the time.
Okay.
But so what I'm saying is, some people choose to not interpret it in that fashion. I mean,
all I want to know,
terrorists
is where do you stand
misinterpret
on the issue?
the Quran all the time.
Where do you stand on the issue?
I just answered you. Which
if
one?
If you had to vote, yes, gay marriage, no gay marriage, where would you vote?
I would have to vote yes.
You would vote yes, gay marriage?
I would have to vote yes.
Okay, so you're in support of gay marriage, right?
Okay.
No issue. And I don't have a problem with that.
I'm in support. I wouldn't even say I'm in support of gay marriage. Here's what I would say.
Right to an abortion.
I would say I support people being able to live their life the way they choose, and not imposing your belief or your opinions on them. So it's either two things. Either we don't believe that it's an abomination, right? Abomination is a religious perspective.
Okay.
So that's
we
why I
don't
said,
believe it's
when
an
we're talking
abomination.
about making laws, we shouldn't be bringing religion into it.
So my point is, so if that's how we believe, then what is so bad about two cartoon characters getting married?
Okay, I think I addressed it earlier.
What is so bad about that?
I don't even necessarily say
if a female and a male cartoon character can get married, right?
Well, I think,
why can't two male characters get married?
Well, what I said earlier, I guess you're not listening, or
you're saying there shouldn't be any marriage in cartoons.
What I said
anyway.
earlier.
So how do you then get cartoon kids from a unicorn? That's what we want to teach our kids.
I don't know.
You came from a stork.
Well, I don't know
That's
that.
What we're
I don't
teach
know
our
that
kids,
cartoons.
Jarvis?
I don't know that cartoons need to be delving into pregnancy.
Well, back in the day,
kids.
the stork delivered the baby.
Well, it's a cartoon for kids.
Yeah,
so I don't know that we need to be talking to kids about pregnancies.
But you understand that kids
should cartoons be the tool that's educating kids on how babies are made? I don't think so.
I don't.
I think that's something that their parents.
I think that
should
kids
be
are
doing.
intelligent enough to understand that I have a teacher, Mr. B, who has a husband, Mr. A. I see that.
Well, it depends on what age the kids are.
I see that. Well,
they may not recognize
their
husband.
homosexual teachers.
They may not understand
from
husband and wife.
pre-K, I'm sure, all the way up.
What I'm saying is, it depends on their age. They may not understand it.
Yeah.
Why would their teacher be telling them about whether he's married to a man or a woman? Why would
why wouldn't
kindergarten teacher? Why would he be discussing that with
it's
kids?
It's family. So it's a family unit. It's the family.
They
teach it in school all the time.
Why would a kindergarten teacher be talking to his students about his wife or his husband? Why would he be doing that?
Even if he's not talking personal business, this is what I'm saying. It's like we say it's acceptable, but it's not acceptable to talk about it.
I don't think that.
Don't ask, don't tell. We overturn that, right?
It's
acceptable for two men to get married.
It may not be age appropriate.
You better.
It may not be age appropriate.
So at what age can you understand what marriage
that's
is?
something we need to discuss. But I don't know if parents want their 5 or 6 year old kid watching a cartoon. And that's exposing them to something that they've not been exposed to as of yet, and then having to answer those questions. That's all I'm saying.
So the cartoon author was attempting to teach children how to marry a man.
I suspect a lot of parents don't think that's his job.
Teach whose job? It probably. I don't think it was. I think all they were doing was saying this is a reflection of the society that you live in. That's just like a cartoon that had all white characters. What if a parent said, I'm not ready to introduce my children to who black people are, so I don't want my cartoons showing any type of culture in it. I want it to be all white. When I'm ready for my children to learn, you laugh, but I'm being serious.
No, I get your point.
When I want my children to learn who black people are, I'll introduce them first, and then maybe they can watch cartoons that include other races. Yeah. What I'm saying is it's a part of life. We can't say we agree with it and support it, but then when the like in the words of Malcolm X, when the chickens come home to roost.
Well, not everybody agrees with it. That's first and foremost.
You do.
That's first and foremost.
You do.
And I don't have any kids, so I don't have a.
But you have an issue with
in this hunt.
the cartoon.
Yeah. I didn't say I had an issue with the cartoon.
have an issue with them
I said there's a
marriage.
discussion. I said there's a discussion that could be had on whether or not it's appropriate.
So there should
to
be no
have,
families in cartoons.
I think I've already addressed it. You're
I'm
going to
asking.
keep asking the same question.
I'm trying to. So one more time.
Why are you not understanding?
So there should be no family units in cartoons.
You can have a family unit in a cartoon
Without them being married.
without going into showing pregnancies or babies or where babies
Arthur,
came from,
or whoever the two characters were.
showing physical touching that shows some type of attraction. You don't have to go into that in the cartoon.
Should there be parents and children in cartoons?
Sam, I'm not gonna.
Should the children in cartoons have parents?
Sam,
No.
I'm not gonna get.
So
into
we're
this.
just all
I'm
gonna.
tired- I'm tired
So
of
it's Power
discussing it.
Rangers and He-Man and She-Ra, and
Those were quality cartoons.
but there was no.
They were quality cartoons.
Yeah.
I mean, you acted as if
Yeah.
these were bad cartoons.
Because,
I
but
like
they
all
didn't,
those
I
cartoons.
said those because there was no family unit. But I'm also saying to you is that there were a lot of cartoons growing up as a kid. The Jetsons. Now you say The Simpsons is now for adults. Could be. When I was a kid, Cowabunga Man.
What the hell was that?
Well, that's what my night clothes said. Cowabunga.
Okay, you had night clothes.
That
Okay.
I was a kid, Jarvis.
I was never a kid. I was always an adult.
Yeah, clearly. So you.
Hey, man,
so
I
you
got
grew,
some partying
So
to
you
do,
grew
Sam.
up
I'm not
knowing
gonna-
about
I knew about all kinds of stuff. I taught a lot of
Other
my
kids.
peers. Yeah, I taught them about the
Did you
birds
teach
and
them
the
about
bees.
homosexual marriage?
I taught them about every.
Did you tell them that it was coming?
I predicted that it
That it
would
was
be
coming?
that it would be legal one day in the United States. Yeah,
So your child wouldn't be able to watch Arthur.
I didn't say that. I said it was a discussion that is worth having. Whether or not certain things, certain relationships need to be displayed on a cartoon. That's all I asked.
Jarvis supports gay marriage, man.
Okay.
That's good to know.
Yeah, I mean,
I support gay marriage too.
I don't know
But
why.
I also
I don't know
support,
why
like
there
I
was a
said,
question about it.
I believe in choice, man.
Okay.
Do whatever you want to do.
Hey, man, I got some partying to do, man. You got anything else you want to discuss? Because I'm about to go, man. You're already late today.
Do you do anything else besides party, Jarvis?
I do a lot of stuff. I come in here and get you straight on this podcast every week. Can we go now?
I'm done, Jarvis.
Thank you for joining me today, Sam. You've been listening to the Two Opinionated Brothers podcast with Smart Jarvis and Big Sam. Don't forget to like the Facebook page and follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Two Opinionated Brothers, and subscribe to our YouTube and SoundCloud at Two Opinionated Brothers.